Hey everybody, welcome to Warner Brothers Home Entertainment's New York Comic-Con celebration of the Flintstones, the first animated family of primetime television. I'm Yvette Nicole Brown and I am overjoyed to be your moderator today. Warner Brothers Home Entertainment is honoring the landmark series' 60th anniversary with the release of the Flintstones The Complete Series, which is the first fully remastered, high-definition Blu-ray release of all 166 episodes of the original series. It's now available on digital HD and will be coming to Blu-ray on October 27th. The box set includes 2 bonus movies, The Man Called Flintstone and The Flintstones and WWE Stone Age Smackdown! Let's meet our panelists. Up first, please welcome Tony Cervone. He is the director and producer of The Flintstones and WWE Stone Age Smackdown and director of the recent WB film SCOOB. Hey!
Woo!
Yay!
Hi, Tony.
Up next, please welcome voice actor Jeff Bergman, star of the hit Showtime series Our Cartoon President, popular voice of Bugs Bunny, and the voice of Fred Flintstone in several modern Flintstones productions. Hey, how you doing?
Good, I'm doing great. Thanks, Yvette.
Next, please welcome Gray Delisle Griffin, the awesome voice of Betty Rubble in several modern Flintstones productions. Hey, Gray.
Hi, guys.
Next up is Eric Bauza, who provides the voices of Bam Bam and Dino in several modern Flintstone productions. What's up, Eric?
Gosh, it's been a while.
It's just for me, guys.
I just can't do that voice in the pandemic. There's lots of coughing and stuff.
It's that COVID bark.
Yeah.
Dino's been through some things, as we all have. Last but not least, please welcome the great Jerry Beck. He is an animation historian and author. Hello, everybody. Hey, how are you?
Hello, Jerry.
Hooray.
Hey, so this first question is for Jerry. How would you frame the legacy of the Flintstones in both the history of television and the history of animation?
Well, the Flintstones is a major game changer, that's for sure. It was obviously, we can say, the first primetime network animated series, but not just that, it was a hit. It was a huge sensation. It was it was even a fad in a way. And the Flintstones, the merchandising that came out of it, it really set television animation up. Even though Hanna-Barbera had done some earlier series and there were some other things here and there, the Flintstones made watching cartoons on TV safe for grown-ups and for kids, and for running around in a lion tiger outfit or whatever. But no, it set this tone for television animation for decades to come. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, it was an influence, I think, to all of us. I mean, we all grew up with the Flintstones. It was just on.
Love that. That's actually a great segue into my next question. This is for everybody. Do you remember your first impressions of seeing the Flintstones, and what is it like now to be a part of this amazing legacy?
I remember wanting to drive my little car with my feet because of I had like a little plastic car and I was like, this is like the Flintstones. Yeah, I mean, I would watch it, all the time. I was a little latchkey kid and it would come on in the afternoon after school. Also with Scooby-Doo, and I do Daphne on Scooby-Doo and Betty Rubble. I would have never dreamed that I would ever be doing those things that I would sit and eat a pint of ice cream to in my robe. And then Kung Fu would come on after that. I remember that. And anyway, yeah, no, it definitely childhood, stamped into the childhood. Yeah. Sorry.
I kind of remember, like, there was a point where I think it was the episode where Tony Curtis was a guest star, and then Anne Margaret presents or something like that, and I just thought, wow, a celebrity on the Flintstones, that was so cool. And of course today it's just, you wouldn't even think that that's a big deal, but I just remember thinking how cool that was.
Yeah.
Me as like a voiceover aside, the visuals alone, we have to talk about Ed Benedict. He was one of the artists that worked with Bill and Joe on that back in the Hanna-Barbera days. And I think just the design overall, I used to love the talking appliances. It's a living, like the dishwasher, the shower.
If there's anything I hate more than anything else in the whole world, it's doing the laundry.
She hates doing the laundry. She.
Everything was talking around them. And just again, the voices were amazing. Alan Reed, Mel Blanc, and the rest.
When I was 5 years old, it was 1960. The Flintstones had just gone on, but I didn't know about it. I was 5 years old. I was sent to bed at 7 o'clock at night. That's what time they sent kids to bed. And I remembered waking up one day, what I thought was the middle of the night. It was pitch black out, and I was scared. And I got out of my bed, and I went over, looked for my parents, and the house was dark. And I heard something. I heard the TV sounds. And thank goodness my parents weren't doing anything else, but they were actually watching the Flintstones in bed. And I remember crawling into bed as a 5-year-old to watch it with them. And it just stayed in my head from that point forever that animation is for kids, but it also is for adults, that anybody can enjoy it and laugh at it, and brought us all together. And so Flintstones saved my life. I love the Flintstones.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, I grew up just like everybody else here with the Flintstones, and I've always loved the cartoon. And one of the things I loved about it was that they were adults. Like and if you look at a lot of the early Hanna-Barbera cartoons, they're cartoons about adults and about adult problems. You know, Fred was trying to pay bills and stuff like that.
I see you've been going over the checking account, dear. How do we stand?
Stand? We don't stand. We're flat on our face. We have no checking account. We're way overdrawn.
Why, that's impossible. The bank must have made a mistake.
Naturally. What good are all their bookkeepers, adding machines, double-checking compared to your system? Whatever it is.
As a kid, I saw that as like sophisticated. So I always felt like, I'm watching something that's, you know, I'm watching something that's a little more grown up. It felt like it was for adults, but also for kids.
It wasn't it based off on the Honeymooners?
Yeah.
Yes. So I remember
I've
thinking,
always
like,
been an enormous Honeymooners fan as a little kid too. So I was like, I like this and that, because they're, you know, like I saw them as kind of the same, and it didn't bother me at all. I loved them.
Yeah, my grandma raised me, and she liked the Honeymooners. I remember thinking, this seems familiar. I can get into this. You know, this is a nice segue. Anyway.
Question is for Jeff, Gray, and Eric. As opposed to crafting new characters, what is your process for recreating a classic character voice like you got to do on the Flintstone projects?
Oh my gosh. My first I didn't do Fred originally. I started doing Barney Rubble. Barney Rubble for Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles. And I worked with Henry Corden, who was actually the first person to do Fred Flintstone after the original Alan Reed. And behind me is a cell, and it's from the Fruity Pebbles commercial. So I worked alongside Henry doing Fred all those years, and hearing stories about him working with Gene Vanderpyle, who was, of course, Wilma Flintstone, and, of course, working on the show with Alan Reed. I kind of felt like I was a couple of degrees of separation away from the show. So it, you know, and then working with Gene a little bit when she did a commercial. She was so sweet, and like you're sitting next to, it's like, that's Wilma Flintstone. So that all kind of sort of helped, you know. And then, like everyone here, we're all such fans of the show, you know. So we just watching the episodes again and again, and now they're on MeTV now, I think. So it's so much fun. You'll catch something that you hadn't remembered, you know.
From way back when, yeah. Great.
Yeah.
What's your take on recreating one of these voices?
I was just terrified of messing it up, you know, like reading reading the comments and being like, I'm gonna go end things now. And also, which person do I? Because you know, B. Benaderet and Jerry Johnson. Like I wanted to do sort of honor both of them, you know, as well. And but also put my own little stamp on things. But yeah, I didn't want to disappoint the fans. I work from a place of terror, Yvette.
As do I, Gray.
But it all started with that little laugh. That's that they have that in common, that little, you know, so that's where I started, and then like just try to not anger everyone.
Yeah, I literally choose to moderate these things because I love being in rooms with you amazing people, and when you guys go in and out of the characters, it's like my whole childhood is made. What about you? How did you recreate?
For me, again, growing up watching the reruns, but again, I'm growing up in an era where I'm also catching performances from Jeff and Gray, and I thank God for them because they kept these characters alive, just like the Looney Tunes, long enough for me to be a part of the family. I'm watching the original in rerun and original new ones from Jeff and Gray, and I mean, anytime I get to spend any minute in the booth with Jeff and Gray, I'm like, this is like a master class. I feel like I'm sitting on stage with the three tenors, you know, like it's amazing. I get paid to learn with these guys. For the Stone Age Smackdown, that was the first time I ever started doing anything with the Flintstones, and you know, I was head over heels, and I was doing Dino's voice, Hoppy's voice, and Bam Bam's voice in that project, and basically just one noise characters like Bam Bam. You know, Don Messick was Bam Bam, Dino was Mel Blanc, and I learned actually. From Andrea Romano outside the project, she was like, "Oh, did you do what Mel? Were you doing what Mel did?" And I was like, "For Dino," and because I was breathing out, going, "Ow, row, 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 row." She's like, "He inhaled like a dog bark." Row, row.
Paper says it's gonna be the fight of the century. No, Dino. No, boys. No, back in the house, Dino. No.
So you get that higher pitch and that weird scratchy thing that happens when you inhale your air through your tonsils, and that's what I learned was inhale rather than bark out.
I feel like I should be taking notes in here because you guys are like a master class for me in voiceover. I want to stick with you, Eric, for a minute, and this is for Eric and Gray. Do you guys have a Flintstone catchphrase, you know, a word or a phrase or a line of dialogue that you just couldn't wait to utter? And why does that particular word or phrase like strike a chord for you?
Man, I mean, just hearing Jeff do Barney Rubble's laugh, that was always my favorite laugh from a cartoon character. It was just so kind of, I mean, aside from Woody Woodpecker, of course, having an infamous laugh, but Barney's laugh is just so funny to me. I don't know why. It just builds, it goes, and it just keeps going up like an escalator that, you know, kind of an amazing thing.
But you, Greg?
To get into Betty, I mean, I if I'm in the booth, you know, everybody, whenever you do a character, there's usually like a sentence or like some kind of phrase that just kind of snaps you into it. And for me, with Betty, I do the laugh and then I go, "Oh, Bonnie," and it just sort of like, just that, "Oh, Barney," yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna spin the entire panel like this. Like every time you guys do it, I have to clap. How about you, Jeff? Is there a favorite catchphrase of yours that you want to?
Like as far as Fred goes, I mean, I guess it's oh boy, Fred Flintstone and my pal Barney Rubble. Oh boy. I mean, it's always tough because everybody has their childhood. So like you want to try to capture, you know, whatever that is that somebody remembers from that, you know, moment in time. So I'm kind of like Gray. You don't want to mess with anything, you know. So we try, you know, the directors help us to stay in line, you know.
Okay, so this next question is for Tony. Along with Spike Brandt, you are the last producer director to work closely with Joe Barbera. Did he ever tell you any awesome tales about the Flintstones from back in the day?
Mr. B really loved the Flintstones. I mean, I think he loved Tom and Jerry probably first, I would say, but then very closely followed by the Flintstones. So he would, like, his office was full of Flintstone stuff, and he was always very proud of the Flintstones. And I could tell that was like his show, the show that he loved the most. He loved the live action movie, and he would talk about the live action movie a lot too. And he had props from the live action movie in his office, and he would show me like probably every other month he would go, "Hey, have you seen this before?" And I'm like, "Hey, you showed it to me 2 months ago, but let's look at it again." But he really did love the Flintstones, and he did talk about the actors and how special the actors were on that show in particular, and how much he loved them, and he loved that time. Like you could always tell what was closest to his heart, and the Flintstones, and everything about it really was. And if there was anything he would talk about, like, hey, I got an idea for, let's try this or let's try that, it was most of the time Flintstone related. Like he would go, I got a new take on the Flintstones, or I got a new thing, or what if Dino had puppies, and what if so even all the way up until the end, he was always thinking about what can we do with the Flintstones next.
I was directed by Bill Hanna, and I remember that was a very scary experience. I don't know if you were in a session with him ever, Tony, or anybody, but he was directing me to do George Jetson in the movie The Jetsons, and I think he kind of maybe just nodded off a little bit during the recording. He'd wake up and he's like, I'm doing it again.
There's always a safe direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm doing it again.
Okay, this next question is for everybody. Do you guys have a favorite Flintstones prop or character that was reimagined from modern times for the Stone Age series?
Oh.
See, it's a good one. It's a thinker.
The obvious ones to think about are, to me, are like the camera. You'd see a camera and there'd be a little bird inside actually sculpting the picture. I love stuff like that.
I know in the Stone Age Smackdown, we did a couple of new ones, but my favorite one was, and it goes back to the old show too, is television. Like they spend a lot of time watching television. That's the one that I don't know, how do you explain a TV broadcast by only using a dinosaur? So even on that show, we were like, don't think too hard about television. That's magic and it works.
Now, quiet, everybody. No talking while the program's on. If you have to cough, go outside. It'll take a minute for the set to warm up.
In the newest iteration of the show on, is it on Boomerang? I can't remember where it's airing, but where it focuses on Pebbles and Bam Bam. I played this little bird that's like Siri. So, I mean, it was like, they would always ask her questions and she would come up with answers. And I don't know, it was just it was very clever.
Yeah, also in that series, the Great Gazoo is reimagined as the Predator, so an alien from space collector. Like he appears as this scary character and he's like, hello, dum-dums, I'm here, I had to share this one photo if we could. This is in Canada, before the Paramount Park started taking over, theme parks. We had Canada's Wonderland, and inside Canada's Wonderland, we had Hanna-Barbera Land. Now, this was, I don't know if it was anywhere else, but in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is like me as like maybe I'm probably 5 or 6 here, and my mom and my brother standing in front of Bedrock.
Oh, that's great.
Cool.
That's right.
So in Hanna-Barbera Land, there was every Hanna-Barbera character. They had Flintstones mini golf. That was my favorite thing to do. And years later, I was so obsessed. On my very first trip to LA, I found Hanna-Barbera Studios, and this is me in front of all of those.
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera is now a gym, isn't it? Isn't that what they turned it into? That's me wearing all denim because I'm Canadian.
It goes to show you, if you stalk a company long enough, they'll hire you.
It's true. Is that the trick?
I think you're right about that, Greg. Yeah, it's so funny.
Love it. Well, guys, let's take a look at those props.
How about it? Camera crew ready?
Anytime you are, Chief.
Then roll 'em.
One good thing about TV, it employs artists. Whoops, goofed again. Well, that's showbiz.
Hey, Betty.
What is it, Barney?
Oh, Fred and Wilma are having a real ring-a-ding over there. Hey, what's the trouble?
They're arguing over their checking account. Fred was looking over the checks.
Checking account? Hey, that gives me an idea. I better check my checks.
Out!
Oops, I'm sorry.
Serves me right. Me and my big mouth.
Nice flying weather, ain't it? Ready? The hard way. No hands.
And no brains either.
It works. really flying! Hey, Barney! Barney, buddy, pal!
What do you say now, Freddy boy?
What do I say?
Yabba-dabba-doo!
That's one of the first episode, I think.
It's the very first one.
Yeah.
The Flintstone Flyer, as they called it.
Yeah.
They did a Viewmaster, 3D Viewmaster.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh man, I'd
Right.
love to get that.
There
Oh,
was
wow.
a toy store that was like right around the corner from me here in the valley, and the guy someone had either sculpted it. It was probably about the size of a shoe, and it was like a 3D sculpt of
Cool.
Fred and Barney on the Flintstone Flyer, and it was always behind the counter. And I was like, "Are you ever gonna sell that?" And he was like, "No." And they're out of business now. I feel like they could have sold it. I was like, "Oh, you could have saved the store if you just let me buy that thing."
Tony, hi. You've meshed several Hanna-Barbera characters with pop culture icons like Scooby-Doo with Rock Legends Kiss and the Flintstones and WWE Stone Age Smackdown, which is included as a bonus feature on this box set, by the way. What were the joys and challenges of producing that particular Flintstones film?
I mean, that was really fun. And like Jerry said, there is a precedent for celebrities to be on the Flintstones. So we went, oh, well, let's just kind of follow that example. And it was fun getting that little peek inside, the world of the WWE. Like, so it was their superstars coming in and working with them. And just like all of us, they were all fans of the Flintstones as well. So it's cool to see people from all walks of life get excited about working with these characters. So they were all, it was fun to see the Undertaker excited about being in a Flintstones thing.
That was just an appetizer, folks. Now it's time for the main event. Battling Barney Rubble versus...
Hey, buddy, I just realized I never caught your name.
The Undertaker.
Wow, that is some scary name.
I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Jerry,
Yes.
what is it about animation that makes you go, I want to study this. I want to make sure that it lives beyond just these few years that it may be on television. What is the magic for you?
Well, and I love drawing. I love movies. I love TV, and animation combines all of that. And I think that when I was younger, as I said before, I realized that animation could be for all. But by the time I became a teenager, and this is a long time ago, we're not living in this world anymore. But back in those days, watching cartoons and reading comic books was considered something that people didn't do after a certain age.
Yeah.
So I was on a mission. I got myself on a mission to remind everybody that animation isn't just for kids, that this is important pop culture. It should be preserved. It should be remembered. And so I came about writing books and things about the shows and cartoons that I love. And that's what I've been doing my entire life. But and it's so great to now, I'm in the future now. This is a wonderful world where animation is accepted. It's an industry again. And I'm really, really happy that the Flintstones are back. So, preserving it, making sure that people understand that. I do want to say quickly that two little things about the Flintstones historically. I think that Joe and Bill, Joe in particular, as Tony mentioned before, that the Flintstones was very close to him. I think it was because, as he said, Tom and Jerry were aimed at grown-ups. They were shown in movie theaters. They won Oscars. And now he's on TV, and they have to, in the beginning, pedal to wherever they can pedal, which is to the children's market. And I think he wanted to prove something with the Flintstones, that animation wasn't just for kids, that it could be on prime time, that grown-ups will enjoy watching it. And he proved that completely. And I think that's another reason why the Flintstones is beloved to him. I also want to quickly mention that this is the first show that the first animation that Mel Blanc did outside of his exclusive contract to Warner Brothers. He was under an exclusive to Warner's for about 15, 20 years, just doing Bugs Bunny and all the classic characters. I think it was Up. I think literally the deal came to an end in 1960, and the Flintstones is the first thing he did in animation since. And I think it's a wonderful milestone. It's a wonderful thing for us to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing
trivia.
Yes. This has been an amazing time with you guys. The Flintstones for me, I like Greg used to watch it in the afternoons when I came home, Latchkey Kid as well. It's always been like a warm hug. So I'm so happy I got to talk to you guys. And I want to thank the audience, our awesome panelists, and thank you, New York Comic Con. Now, before we go, here's a quick reminder. For the first time in its 60-year history, all 166 episodes of the original series have been remastered for Blu-ray. The Flintstones, the complete series, is now available on digital HD and will be arriving on Blu-ray on October 27th. Thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. And please, everybody take care. Bye.
Thank you, Yvette. Thank you. So good to see everybody. All right.
Flintstones, they're the modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street, through the courtesy of Fred and Pete. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba dabba do time, a dabba do time. We'll have a game.